Hello, it's Lenny McGill with the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop right here in San Diego, California. And today I want to introduce you to one of our new extended magazine release buttons. It's a checkered magazine release button. And this one has the inspirations from the 1970s and 80s when a lot of my good friends who were gunsmiths were building 1911s and doing the checkering by hand. Imagine that. Back in the old days, it was all done by hand. It still probably is in some places. The checkering process was a work of art. Certainly made a big difference on the 1911 from a smooth gun to be able to checker that backstrap as well as the front. And this is, kind of your standard checkering that was very, very popular and still is today. These guns were, of course, all the rage in the competition world in the 70s and 80s. And then people started transitioning to the higher capacity magazines and the polymer guns because they're lighter and all kinds of great things. I just did the installation of the checkered magazine release button on my Glock 19-like handgun, which is actually the polymer 80 compact frame, accepts all factory Glock parts. So the same installation procedure is the same for Glocks as well. This just happens to be my polymer 80 that I'm building up over time. And you can see I installed the silver extended checkered magazine release button along with the black and silver pyramid trigger to make it all match. And eventually, as I build this gun up over time, I want to replace the chrome parts here, or the silver parts here, and the pins, do a chrome kit, and kind of make it all match up with the black and silver theme. All right, so this is the Gen 3. Installation is very, very similar, but a little different. And so I thought I'd do a separate video here for the Gen 4. Here's our Gen 4 lineup. We've got 6 colors at this time: silver, red, blue, black, gold, and pink. And you can see it's got a nice checkered front. And we'll see how that looks when it goes in there. So let me pull Glock 17 Gen 4 into the picture here, and we will go ahead and proceed to install the magazine release button. Now, many of you would say, well, why would I want to install the magazine release button? Well, one, cosmetically, it looks really cool. These checkered different colors, people like to match colors up and play with the colors. Two, it will give you better traction on your finger, and it is slightly extended. The Gen 4 is slightly larger than the factory Gen 4. So that gives you a little bit more to push on. When I'm pushing it now, the magazine's not coming out. I can get a little bit more aggressive in out it comes. But certainly, you got to put some, a little bit of pressure on there. So with the extended version, not as much pressure. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and drop the magazine, check to make sure the gun is unloaded. I know that it is, but I'm always going to keep it pointed in a safe direction and pull the trigger in a safe direction. Magazine will sit aside. I've got no ammunition on the table, no ammunition in this room, no ammunition available to me, so I could, I cannot, should I say, inadvertently load this gun. And I suggest you always do the same when you're working on handguns, cleaning handguns. Keep the ammunition totally separate. Magazines are unloaded, and they never have a loaded magazine sitting on your workbench as you work on the gun. That's an accident waiting to happen. Okay, disassembly procedure. This is a very simple process to install these magazine buttons, and I'll try to keep it quick here because I did, kind of a lengthy version on that compact 80. So if you want more detail, you can always go there. Disassemble the gun the same exact way. Pull back on the slide just a little bit, quarter inch or so. Pull down on the slide lock lever, both sides at the same time. Hold it down, let the slide go forward, making sure not to let the slide fall off and fall onto the ground. Grab it, and that's the upper. That's the lower. We're going to be working on the lower today. So I'm going to put the upper to the side, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that magazine button and replacing it with our extended checkered magazine release button, the Double Diamond brand, that is, because we make those right here in America with our machine shop. Okay, so let's look inside real quick. Before we take a gun apart or before we do anything, I always like to see what it looks like before when it's assembled, so that I know how to put it back together. Now, this is a very simple process, simple part, should I say. I already know what it is, but I wanted to say that because it's just kind of a good general rule. If we look inside there, you'll see that that spring there that is loaded, that spring is the magazine button, should I say, magazine release button spring. They call it the magazine release spring. So I'll put that there just to lean up there. So there's a little bit of light inside the tunnel there, and you'll see how that magazine spring is just a roll pin, and the action on that roll pin is basically just back and forth. It's just that little. That's all it takes to release the magazine. So if you'll also notice right there, there's a notch in there. And that notch is capturing the spring. So there's the spring down there. Oops, let me get my hand out of the way. Let's see here. There's the spring right there. And then the notch is right next to it over here in the corner. Right there, basically. You gotta get some light on that so you can see it. But that's the notch. So my objective is to push that spring over to the notch and scoop it out. And I can do that with this hook. I can also do it with a long flathead screwdriver. That's how I prefer to do it. So I'm gonna get in there. Remember, that spring lives up and down. I'm gonna scrape it over to the notch and yank it up. And usually it's pretty good. Now I will tell you that the trick is to hold that mag button still so it doesn't move. Come in here and scoop it up just like so. And voila, that's what it's gonna look like once you are successful to get that scooped up. The mag button is now sitting on top of the magazine release itself. The mag spring is sitting on top of the magazine release button. Okay? There you got it. Okay, you'll notice how it kind of wedges itself down into that V. It's not attached in any other way, it's just friction fit into that V. There's a little hole down there, you just shove it down in that hole. Now, most times my gunsmiths prefer to pull the spring out at this point. That's why I have the needle nose pliers. Okay, so you want a pair of needle nose pliers, boom, 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 and get in there and grab hold of that spring and just yank on it. No magic. Well, a little bit of magic. Okay, well, you gotta muscle that spring out. Don't be shy, grab hold of it tight. Okay, spring comes out, and now, I wanna be careful not to lose it. And let's look at this real quick, just so you know. The Gen 4 buttons are ambidextrous, so they've got notches on either side. This is the spine, this lives on the front strap or inside the mag well, but forward facing the target. So the mag button sits here like this if you're left-handed, because you'd work it with your left thumb, or over here like so if you're right-handed, because you'd work it with your right thumb. So I'm right-handed, I'm gonna put it in on the right side. But the cool thing about this Gen 4, one of the big upgrades of the Gen 4, is that the magazine release button is ambidextrous. It can be flipped both ways, either way. Okay, so, or it's reversible. I think that's the word. Ambidextrous means to be both at the same time. This is really reversible, so that's the better word. So there's the spring, and I'm gonna leave that right here on my mat, and then I'm gonna come in here and out falls the magazine button, just like that. Boom. There's the factory button. And there's the new double diamond extended button. Notice how it is a little bit larger by design on the head up here. So let me marry them up down here. See that? I think it's not quite that much, but it's like more like that. That's more like it right there. So just a little bit. And so now let's go ahead and put this guy in, put in our magazine button. And then I'll put my spring back in. Okay. There she blows. Now let's go ahead and get my spring and load it up. Now again, there's no magic to this. You just push it down in that V-shaped hole. So I'll grab hold of it with my needle nose pliers. And I want to be aggressive with this thing because there we go. You can kind of feel it go down in there. Okay, that was good. Now, long screwdriver. The objective is to push that pin all the way over to marry up with a notch that's down there. So here we go. Voila. Got it. Okay. Now, look at that. Much nicer. Other side. Nice and flush and clean. Okay, magazine. Works good. That's basically the installation of the Gen 4 part. It's that easy. It really is. And on goes the upper. Take the mag out. And looks good, feels good. Easy to get to. Well, so there you have it. That's the installation process of the new Double Diamond Gen 4 Extended Checkered Magazine Release Button. Voila. And available in 6 different colors. I'm Lenny McGill. This is the GlockStore Performance and Custom Shop. I do appreciate you watching, and certainly if you have any questions or comments, certainly call the shop. And the guys are here to help you out, help you figure out how to install any part and piece. And do remember that if you buy a part from us and you want us to install it, we do installation at no charge. Thanks for watching. I'm Lenny McGill. We'll see you next time.